A breakfast or brunch for a whole crowd in one pan coming up. Hey, Chef Dez coming at you from my kitchen again, corporate chef of BC Egg. Yeah, today we're gonna make a sheet pan hash with baked eggs, enough for 6 people, all in one pan. You're gonna love this recipe for breakfast, brunch, it doesn't really matter. The first thing we're gonna start off with is a couple of yellow potatoes, and we're just gonna cube those up about 1/2 inch. What I like to do is sort of eyeball 1/2 inch slices lengthwise, and just cut one slice, cut another slice, like that. Obviously, you're gonna have some curves to it. You can't really avoid that. That doesn't really matter. We're just doing approximations here. And then I go 1/2 inch strips, like that. And then I just 1/2 inch dice them. Then we're gonna take those potatoes and put them in a bowl. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And just toss those together. And take that sheet pan and just dump those on there. Make sure you get out all the oil from your bowl and then spread those around. This is really simple. We have a 375-degree preheated oven, and everything we do today is going to be on this pan at that temperature. Let's start with the potatoes. And we're going to cook those for about 12 minutes. While the potatoes are in the oven, we're going to prepare a few more ingredients, starting with a couple of small red bell peppers. So you just want these sliced a little bit. I like to do them a little bit thicker. Everything is a little bit chunkier in this recipe with the 1/2 inch diced potatoes. We're going to be doing some 1/2 inch diced sausage later, so a little bit chunkier than a thin slice. And as we prepare these few ingredients, we're going to put them in a bowl. Let's go on with the second bell pepper. Let's do the green bell pepper the same way. There's the green bell pepper. Now a 1/2 red onion sliced, and same thing, I don't want thin slices, I want thicker ones. And I just break those apart a little bit, separate the layers. Now comes time for our sausage. We're using a smoked sausage. You would find this at the deli. It's not a raw sausage. Some people would call this a dry sausage. And we're using a chorizo. So we're doing sort of a Spanish, Mexican, kind of Italian flair to it. You'll see the Italian part in a bit, but with the bell peppers and a little bit spicy chorizo, you can go hot or mild. It just adds a great flavor and a great texture to it as well. So like the potatoes, we want to do about a 1/2 inch dice. So what I do is I take one of these, I cut it in half, then I just line it up and I do 1/2 inch pieces this way. So it's not an actual dice, but it gets it approximately the same size as the chunks of potato. Also handy when you can set it flat on the board like this. And we're going to add all that chorizo sausage to our peppers and onions. And we're going to set that aside. The next thing we want to prepare in advance is the tomato sauce. This is the Italian part I was telling you about. So we're going to use 1 cup of diced tomatoes, so canned diced tomatoes, 1 cup of prepared tomato sauce from a can or a jar, however you like to buy it, 2 1/4 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. If you don't have pre-made Italian seasoning, I'll tell you what I like to do for the Italian seasoning. So I have a 1/2 teaspoon of dry basil, a 1/2 teaspoon of dry oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of dry rosemary, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme. We're just going to add that to our tomatoes. A couple teaspoons of sugar just to back off the acidity of the tomatoes, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. We're just going to stir that together. And we'll set that aside as well. All right, there's our 12-minute timer for the potatoes. I didn't mention before, but you should make sure you're using a non-stick sheet pan as well. And we're just going to toss those around. And they're just starting to get brown, starting to get cooked. And that will happen more as this dish continues in the oven. Now we're going to take this mixture of the bell peppers, the onion, the sausage, and we're going to add it to the pan. And make sure you toss everything to coat. You want to get the bell peppers and the sausage, the onion coated with that oil that's in the pan as well. But look at the beautiful colors that we've created now. Make it into a nice even layer. Then you're going to pop that back in the oven for 15 minutes. All right, there's our timer. Oh, this is looking so good already. Look at that. So now we're going to take that reserved tomato sauce that we made and we're going to pour it over top. And then we're just going to stir that all together. Make sure everything gets coated with that beautiful tomato sauce. Make sure you're getting right to the corners as well, all the edges of the pan. And then, like we did before, smooth everything out, nice even layer. Then we're going to put that in the oven for another 5 minutes. Now comes the part we've all been waiting for, the lovely BC eggs, and we're going to use 6 of them for this recipe. Always remember, every single large BC egg has 14 key nutrients, all 9 essential amino acids, over 6 grams of the highest quality protein you can get, and 1 large egg is only 80 calories. So I find it easier to crack each egg into its own little portion cup, and that way you can work very quickly putting the eggs on that sheet pan. This smells amazing. What we want to do next is make a little well for each of those 6 eggs. You can use 8 eggs if you want to, but I find it's just a bit too crowded. But really, can you ever have too many BC eggs? Anyway, let's create our well. So I'm going to do 6, like I mentioned. I'm going to find 6 spots so I can put them in. And really what you're doing is you're creating enough space for the yolk and a little bit of the whites, and the whites are going to go into the dish a little bit. And this is what I mean. You want to work fast and get it back in the oven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't forget to season those lovely BC eggs. So a little salt and some fresh cracked pepper. Then in the oven again for about 7 to 10 minutes. It depends on the temperature eggs. Obviously, if you're using cold eggs straight from the fridge, it's going to take closer to 10. If they're room temperature, closer to 7 minutes. What you're waiting for is the egg white to be set and cooked, but the egg yolk still be a little bit runny. Okay, there's our timer. This looks so beautiful and smells amazing. The only last thing we have to do is just a little bit of fresh parsley over top, just to give a little pop of green. Try not to cover up those beautiful BC eggs too much. I can't wait, I have to try some. So you just get underneath for a portion, get underneath that beautiful BC egg and plate it like so. Grab your surrounding ingredients. When you put this whole baking sheet on the table for breakfast or brunch, people are going to be so amazed at this presentation. But wait till they taste it. Look at that beautiful BC egg. Yolk is still runny. Oh, it's fantastic. Wow. To have that BC egg surrounded by all those amazing flavors, it's incredible. You're going to love this recipe. Make sure you're checking out the website at bcegg.com for this recipe and a whole bunch of great others, along with egg tips and egg tricks. And this is Chef Dez signing out. Where are you getting your protein from?